So you want to be a farmer. So there are a few things that you should know before getting started into farming. And I'm going to talk about those few things that we need in this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about what you would need, character traits and personal skills that you need to start a farm. And we'll see you folks here in a minute. You like the belly rubs, don't you? Oh, the good piggy. Where's your good piggy? Welcome back to Pecan Ranch. Today I want to talk to you about what are the things that you need to start a farm. And I don't mean a tractor and equipment. That's going to be another video on equipment. I could do that. A whole video on just the equipment and supplies that you should keep on hand on the farm. And that will be a future video. But today I want to talk about what are the things that you need to possess as far as personal traits, characteristics, and skills. Now, one of the major things that I would say that you need just as a basic thing is perseverance. You need perseverance and you need patience, because there are a lot of things that aren't going to be easy. And also, it's once you commit, and commitment's another one. You know, commitment and perseverance kind of go hand in hand. Once you commit to raising livestock and raising animals, you can't just phone in sick or call it a day or easily go on vacation or anything like that. Obviously it changes and it varies by like the scale at which you're farming. And I'm also going to talk about what I recommend on how to baby step your way into farming. One of the things that I want to talk specifically on is just to give you a glimpse into the reality of farming. The reality is that you don't get to take time off. Now, there are days, and yes, it is possible to take vacation, but the reality is you're always on call. You're on call no matter what. So you can set up systems, and I highly recommend setting up systems that cut down on your chores. For one, an automatic watering system is the best way to go. It ensures that your animals always have water, especially in that summertime, especially animals that are prone to having issues in the heat. Like in my case, rabbits. Rabbits are my high-risk animals when it comes to hot summertime days. We need to always ensure that they have good water. Now, since moving out here, we haven't had a chance to set up our automated water system just yet. I'm working on that. I've got the supplies now, and that is a DIY project that will be coming to you folks shortly. Now, automatic feed is another thing. Right now, our chickens and our rabbits are set up in a manner to have automatic feed. The pigs have not yet. I'm about to build them one. Pig feeders are extremely expensive, and that's going to be another video coming soon, I know, but it will come soon. I'll show you how to make a DIY, basically livestock feeder. That'll help cut costs. So that brings me to another trait that you need to possess as a farmer. Regardless of the scale at which you're doing it, I highly recommend being able to be frugal. Finding savvy ways to cut costs is extremely important because all this stuff adds up. And when it comes down to it, the bottom line is farming is a business. Regardless of what level you're at, what scale you're at, it's a business, and it requires a good knowledge of numbers. So along with being frugal, I would say that it's extremely important to also have a good business mindset. Understanding business and finances and accounting methods and things of that nature. Now, obviously the smaller scale, the less involved that is on the administrative side, especially if you're mostly raising the animals for your own food. Now, when you're raising animals for your own food, you still want to keep cost in mind because you want to be able to ideally make it cost as much as or less than if you purchase these items from the grocery store, you know, just going out and buying it. Now, there is intrinsic value to good quality free-range eggs and pasture-raised pork that you will be able to justify spending more money and more time on raising it yourself than if you had just gone to the store. But it is possible to do so in a more cost-effective manner than just going to the store. So it's good to have an open mindset whenever it comes to, you know, being frugal and being savvy with your numbers. Okay. Now, part of being frugal requires you to have another skill, and this skill, I would say, is just general handyman skills. You need to be able to work on stuff on your own. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible to hire professionals to do it. I have a farm services company, and I get hired by people to do things all of the time. But it would be best if there are some things that within the time constraints that you have available to you, you want to be able to handle things yourselves. Like, for instance, I'm going to be able to save hundreds of dollars on a pig feeder by building one on my own. Now that requires a little bit of know-how and a little bit of skill. Fortunately, there's a vast resource of information out here on the internet, and I aim to hopefully contribute to that and on these, you know, instructional videos and informational videos. Now, that being said, being able to DIY a lot of things, it really does just save you a ton of money, and it does involve more time. That brings us to the next topic of discussion, and that is time. One of the things you must possess is time. And obviously that scales and varies, again, by the size of your farm. But no matter what, it will always require some of your time. So day in and day out, I am going to be taking care of these animals, regardless of what else I have to do. If I have to be at a job site, working on a job for a customer at 8 a.m., and I live a ways away, so it's an hour-and-a-half drive, which means if I have to leave my house at 6:30, that means that I better be out here at 4:45 taking care of my chores. Or you have to have a significant other who's willing to pitch in. That makes a huge difference. And which brings us to another quick little topic, which would be delegation. Now, in my case, I have a family, and I have 4 kids and a wife, and I also have a niece staying with me. Anyhow, my oldest boy Matthew is 11. He is over there right now doing some of his chores, which involve making sure all the animals have water. Now I'm about to put some systems in place that put him out of a job in that aspect. And then my second oldest son, he handles the chickens, which doesn't involve feeding them anymore, because I've got, I could put basically a week's worth of feed in their automatic feeder, and just once a week we fill it up, or once every other week, depending upon how much they eat. So he still has to gather eggs and stuff like that. So we have a system, and so basically the delegation portion of it is when you have multiple enterprises going on a farm, if you have multiple people involved, it makes sense to set it up in somewhat of a business format. So I am basically I'm basically the CEO of this operation here. And so there are some things I handle personally, and there are other things that I just supervise over. For instance, the rabbits are primarily the responsibility of my oldest son. The chickens and ducks, the daily chores, those are primarily the responsibility of my second oldest son. And then I handle the large livestock, the pigs and the cattle. And eventually that will change as they get older. They'll probably handle more responsibilities and things of that nature. But I still oversee what's happening and I supervise it, but it cuts down on the things that I have to do every single day and every single morning. There is a lot of time that you need to devote to this, and so having the ability to delegate is very helpful. If you're doing it on your own, I would suggest starting as small as you can and figure out what you can handle time-wise and money-wise and space-wise, what you've got available to you. So that brings us kind of to the conclusion to kind of put all of these ideas together. And where do you start? So where do you start? My suggestion is to start with chickens. Chickens or ducks, really birds. They are going to be your easiest livestock to handle, manage. They'll be your lowest cost of entry, and they don't require a ton of attention. They still require attention, but realistically, once you set up your infrastructure and you have good systems in place, they more or less take care of themselves. And I suggest, again, like I do with all of my animals, to spend time with them, because you don't want them to be afraid of you. You want them to like you. So the reason I suggest chickens is, realistically, size-wise, you don't need 10 acres for 6 chickens. In fact, a lot of city ordinances allow for you to keep chickens within the city. I would check your local laws and ordinances. My personal opinion on that is, if it's your land, you should be allowed to do that, whatever. A lot of times they won't let you keep roosters, so I'd check for those things. Or there may be noise ordinances, so it may not specifically prohibit roosters, but because of noise ordinances, you shouldn't keep one. Things along those lines. Now, thing is about chickens, and this may seem like common knowledge to a lot of you folks, but I have had to explain this before, and I'll say it, and I'm not meaning to insult anyone's intelligence here, but your hens do not require a rooster to lay eggs. So you can still get eggs from your hens regardless of whether or not there is a rooster present. They will lay eggs. Now, another reason I suggest chickens to start with is, maybe you're on the fence with how, you know, you haven't really reconciled the idea of butchering animals and dealing, you know, and you don't want to do meat chickens. That's fine. You can keep them for eggs. And in fact, I would argue that eggs are actually vegan if you really think about it. There is no harm done to the animal by taking their eggs, and if you give them a good lifestyle and they live a happy, healthy life, then it's not going to bother them one bit. In fact, to be honest with you, chickens, no matter what the situation is, if we freed every single chicken and set it free, they're going to lay eggs regardless if there's people there to eat them, or regardless if they're fertile or not. If there's roosters, those eggs, if there's no rooster in the group, then those eggs will never become chickens. They're just unfertile eggs that the chickens will lay on a cycle regardless, no matter what. So it doesn't harm anybody. There's no chicks harmed in the making of that breakfast. It's a real good way to get introduced into it, especially even if you're not necessarily vegan, and you know, and you do eat meat, but it just it's gonna hit a little too close to home to see your animals that you raise get butchered. It's a good way to get into it and not really have to face that aspect of it, which is another character trait that I would like to very much point out, is that you have to be able to reconcile your differences with life and death and the cycle of life and how your meat ends up on your table. I personally believe that it is better to have a good working knowledge of how that food is on your table versus blissful ignorance. So a good way to baby step into it is chickens. You can do so in an urban, suburban setting. You can also start with rabbits at some point or another. You can move into rabbits. That's a tough one for some people, because the main reason to keep them, aside from breeding them to sell as breeding stock or as show rabbits, would really be meat rabbits. And that's a tough one for a lot of people, I understand, because they're very cute. I will give you that. But again, that comes back to the character trait of being able to reconcile your differences with life and death and the cycle of life. Now, so that's a good way to kind of baby step into it. And lastly, but absolutely not least, the most important thing that you need to possess before considering starting a farm is you need a passion for it. It's absolutely necessary. And the reason I say this is because you can have all of these other things. You can be real handy, you can have perseverance and commitment, but if you don't have something that drives you through the hard days, and believe me, in farming there will be many hard days. It could be, you know, tons of bad weather. It could be a sickness gets through your flock. It could be, you know, predators take all of your chickens away, and you're looking at just annihilation, and you're not sure where to even pick up the pieces and begin again. You need a passion in order to continue, in order to put one foot in front of the other, and especially considering the fact that, you know, a lot of people starting farms are really not doing it as a full-time means of employment or money, right? We're not even at the point where the farm pays for every single bill. The farm pays for itself, but it doesn't pay for the electricity. I think I still run businesses to make the money. So if you're doing that, that means this is another job. This is another job on top of your other job, right? So, you know, even if you only have one other job than this, that means you're working 2 jobs. So you're going to need that passion to keep driving you, because day in and day out, you can't just call it in and say, you know what, this month I'm just going to take the whole month off. It doesn't work that way. So besides the perseverance, your commitment, your DIY savvy, being able to be good with numbers and good administratively and money management, and you have to be, if you're going to make any money off of the farm at all, you got to be have a little bit of salesman in you. You got to be good at marketing. besides having all that, the biggest, most important thing to have is passion. And you have to have, it's more than just a passion to want to have animals. You want to have a passion for everything that you do in the farm. Meaning, you don't want to phone it in whenever you build your watering system. If you're going to do your DIY, you may be DIY savvy, but you're going to have to have passion for it. Really, you know, enjoy your work and enjoy the product that you've just created with your automatic watering system, because you want it to work reliably and work good for your animals, so that way your animals have consistent access to water. You want to have a passion for the quality of meat that you produce if you're going to be producing meat, because think about it, even if you're only selling to a few families, those families are giving you they're giving you the ability to be invited to their dinner table. They're allowing you to be at their dinner table, not necessarily personally, but with your product, and you want that to be good product. Even if you're just, you know, you've got excess eggs that you're selling to your neighbors, if your chickens are healthy and they're well taken care of and those eggs are good, then you're giving whenever you're selling them those eggs, you have to have pride in that. You have to have a passion for that. And that passion will help keep driving you, because you can possess all of those other skills, but if you don't have that passion, you're not going to be able to wake up whenever it's cold and it's 20 degrees outside and there's snow on the ground, there's ice everywhere, the pond's frozen over, you got to go break up the ice so the cows can get into the ice or get into the pond to drink their water. You got to it's raining, and it's a downpour, it's a thunderstorm, and your shelter has sprung a leak, and your animals are getting wet and cold, and you've got to go out there and fix it to take care of them. That passion is going to keep driving you, and you need that. It's absolutely necessary. So think about it. and again, this is why I recommend starting out small scale. Because if you get 6 chickens and you really think that you're going to have a go at it, and then you got to get out of this wind. You get 6 chickens and you think that, you know, you really have the best intentions in the world, but then you discover, you know what, I just don't want to do this. Then it's not that big of a deal. It's not hard to find homes for 6 chickens. You can list them and probably have them sold pretty quickly. So in future videos, I'm going to talk about probably one of the next upcoming ones is going to be what things do you need to have on the farm, equipment and supplies. That's what we're going to talk about probably next. And then we're also going to go into a little bit more specific details on each of the individual enterprises, like your like chickens, rabbits, and pork, and beef, like all of those, like what infrastructures do you need in place, how do you raise them, where do you start, what's the numbers like, what's the best way to do things, and things of that nature. So and also drop a comment below to let me know what topic you'd like me to cover. If there's a specific thing that you're just wondering about farming and you just really need to know about it, I will do my best to shed some light on the situation as best as I can, to the best of my ability and knowledge, and I'll get that video taken care of for you. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe so you don't miss any more videos, and one little piece of parting advice involving starting a farm. You may think to yourself that you want to do it just for your own family, your own dinner table, but I highly recommend considering the idea of getting a little bit extra, whether it be, you know, oh, we only need 6 chickens. Well, maybe let's get 12 chickens if we're allowed to in our particular area, so that way we have extra eggs and we can sell those eggs. Or if you're saying, you know, I want 2 pigs for my family, get 3 so you can sell 1 and keep 1 or keep 2. And my reasoning for that is, if you have a little bit extra that you can sell, at the very least it can cover the cost of your operation, maybe even put a little bit extra money in your pocket, and and also have the opportunity to benefit another family with good quality, ethically raised food. So that is all from us today here at Pecan Ranch. We hope that you guys will tune in next time, and until the next time, we will see you all back at the ranch.